we are excited to announce that Colony Bank and SouthCrest Bank are going to be merging. They announced this last week on April the 22nd. I am joined with the President and CEO of Colony Bank, Heath, and President and CEO of SouthCrest Bank, Brian Schmitt. Welcome, guys. It's good to see you today.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
We are here to discuss this transformational merger and all the excitement that it brings to both of your team members and to both of your communities. We're talking about a really big merger across Georgia, and this is going to be a significant merger. Why was this partnership the right fit? Because some fits aren't as comfortable as this one is going to be.
Well, you know, Brian and I go back a little ways, and we've worked together in the past. And you know, we're in a time in banking where you've got a lot of technology coming in, you've got a lot of consolidation in the industry, you got a lot of disruptions from financial technology companies that are out there that are just moving really fast. And so, you know, one of the things I think is important that's going on now that's important for us to come together is we want to compete, we want to keep up, we want to be able to offer our customers, you know, the best products and services, and we can just do that easier at our combined size, you know, being at $2.5 billion, being the largest community bank in Georgia. I think it just gives us a better opportunity to compete and to serve and to continue to serve these communities, serve our customers.
Absolutely. You know, you've read and we've used the word transformational, and this is truly transformational for both these companies. This puts us right out of the chute at $2.5 billion. We can serve our clients better. There's more opportunities for our employees. And it's better if you look at how this deal washes out with the numbers, it's a much better deal combined for our shareholders. And that's who we're ultimately working for at the end of the day. But this allows our bankers to be out there, call on larger customers, do more deals with them. It provides more opportunity for our employees, so we're extremely excited about it.
And the services that combined, we can provide a lot more services than either one of us could stand alone. And so back to those communities we've talked about, you know, to be able to compete not just in a narrow band of products, but across the board, which is important for us and for our shareholders to have a greater return, but also important for those communities to have access to these products and services.
And one of these products and services is mortgage. Like that's going to be your mortgage, your high mortgage is a big part of Colony Bank, and you're going to be offering that to SouthCrest Bank customers in a way that you haven't been able to.
Correct. Since I took over SouthCrest about 5 years ago, and you can only do so much with the resources that you have. And mortgage is one that we just didn't have all the resources to build out a mortgage area like Heath has. So, you know, we've been making sure our clients, our customers are being taken care of by actually referring that mortgage business out to another non-bank party to take care of them. And we're just excited that we've got to have mortgage folks that can actually be in the offices and close loans under the Colony name.
And Heath, that's been a big part of your strategy in building Colony to the place that it is today is the mortgage department.
It is. We've got a great mortgage team. You know, if you think about it, I mean, owning a home is the American dream, right? It's how a great source of wealth most people build in their life is that value of their home. And so it's just an important part of what we do. And so I think, you know, and as we went around and talked to your team, you know, that was a real exciting thing about being able to, you know, they've been, like Brian said, they've been doing this through another party, but to be able to do that with a person that works for you, you know, works with you, with your company, I think is a big advantage. And so we're really excited about being able to do that.
Well, one of the things that we talked about was the services that Colony and SouthCrest are going to be able to offer now that they're joining teams. But let's talk about the footprint and how this footprint is actually a really big part of the merger and what it offers for both of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great when you look at this and what we're able to do. It's not coming from closing down any offices or, you know, combining forces in a town. This really is a contiguous footprint just adjacent to where Colony's locations are today is the SouthCrest locations. And so, you know, when you look now, we're going from the Florida line, you know, in Quitman, basically all the way up to the Tennessee line in Chickamauga. So it's really exciting. It's just a great areas, and the communities are similar. a lot of the markets, and then obviously getting in and around the Atlanta area, which is, by far the biggest economic engine in the state of Georgia, and being able to, as a company, participate in that is really important.
Brian, you have your team members, your team, you have some significant years of service that you're bringing with you to Colony Bank. Let's talk about your team members and what kind of investment that is going to be back into the...
It's interesting. It's everything from the back room to the front room. Our chief accounting officer and Heath used to work together at a public accounting firm a lot of years ago.
Yes.
And, our CFO brings some capital market experience, things like that. But most importantly, from an income revenue generator, we don't have a lot of lenders. In my model from the very beginning, we're not going to have a lot, but we're going to have significant years. And I doubt if there's anybody on our team that has less than 20 years probably in the Atlanta market as business bankers of some nature. So we bring a lot of wealth of information about Atlanta is probably 12 different markets if you really want to carve it up. And everybody has experience in different markets and brings a lot to the table.
They're experienced in terms of lending, but they're also, y'all value committing, investing back in your communities. And these are people that have lived, worked, and play here.
Absolutely. It's funny, when I took over SouthCrest, I went and visited all the branches, and I asked each employee, how long you been here? And I got a lot of 20, 25, 30. We have one employee up in Chickamauga that she is now celebrating, I think, 51 years with us. So there's a lot of depth in those marketplaces, and it's. I figured I couldn't keep a job as long as they've been there, but they have. There's a huge commitment that we have to the community marketplaces, and we have long-term leaders in those markets.
That's an institutional knowledge that can't be taken for granted.
That's correct.
Heath, when you started assembling your Colony Bank team, you started looking back on your history and picking a team that would follow you. Talk to me about developing your team at Colony.
Yeah, so it's been really great at Colony the last few years. We have a good mix of folks, just like Brian. I mean, Colony started in '75. Some of the banks, like our bank in Ashburn, has an even longer history than that. And so we have very similar situation, a lot of long-tenured team members. But as we've looked to grow and we've looked to expand, we've also drawn on some of the folks that I've worked with in the past. So I think we have around 14, 15 folks that I've worked with at other places that are part of the Colony team now that have been able to come in and help us with this growth and expansion. This will basically put us at doubling our size over the last 3 years when this is completed. And you have to bring in some folks to help with that. And that's another great thing about this transaction for us is at $1.8 billion, we were struggling to keep up with the infrastructure, to try to build on that so we could continue to grow. And what this is going to allow us to do is be at $2.5 billion, but instead of struggling with the infrastructure, we're going to be able to have $2.5 billion with an infrastructure that'll take us to $3, $4, $5 billion, and that's really significant. And so we would have gotten there eventually. But what bringing this on does is it allows us to do that with some of this team now and to have earnings with that versus us having to go out and try to find talent at our current size and then have to grow into paying for it. This allows us to get some of that talent right now and then to have the earnings to pay for it, which is obviously very important in creating value for our shareholders.
And Brian, when we're talking about these employees that y'all are merging together, these team members that y'all are merging together, I think it's very important it creates a comfort level for your customers that the people that have served them are going to continue to serve them. That face that they see in the lobby is still going to be there.
It's funny, we actually bought Colony's Thomaston branch at the end of December and brought over a couple of Heath's team members to join our board or join our company. And it's just that continuity. And this is one thing you can talk about numerical, about the asset size and putting assets together, but it really comes down to the people. It really comes down to our employees. It comes down to Heath and I having a long term, knowing each other. We each know each other's cultures, how we go about things, and it's just very, very similar. And when you can do that from the top and you can flow that down through the rest of the organization, that's how successful mergers are made.
I agree. Well, you talk about this history that y'all have together and how y'all have known each other and talked about the banks that you wanted to build each individually. What is that history? How did y'all meet?
So,
Do you have a meet cute?
I first met Brian, I think it was like '08, '09, and that was back when, right as the last downturn was sort of happening. And at that point in time, you know, the paint was peeling off a little bit, but it wasn't a full-blown downturn. And I was at a conference, I think it was in Orlando we were at, and I didn't know Brian, and there was a panel of Atlanta bankers on this panel. And Brian was probably with the smaller bank in that group, some really big Georgia banks, and they were talking about the Atlanta market, talking about, you know, kind of each one was really painting a prettier picture of Atlanta than I think they really thought it was. And they were going through, yeah, it's going to be a downturn, but not as bad. Of course, we now know it was, you know, an awful downturn. But as they were going through, got to Brian, and I think Brian's comment was, well, I don't know who your customers are, but our customers are suffering. And he just gave a real honest, you know, just straightforward answer as to what was going on. And everyone else was kind of giving a canned answer, very paint a pretty picture, but, you know, if it turns bad, I kind of hinted at it. And Brian was just straightforward, and had a chance to meet him after that and talk to him. And that's when I got to know Brian, and then we ended up working together.
Yeah, I guess it was about 2015. Heath called me. We had a mutual friend also, but Heath called me out of the blue. And I had left a gig, and I was just kind of doing my own thing for a period of time. And he said, hey, why don't you come on down here with us, and you can help build out Atlanta and help on the mergers and acquisition strategy and that. So we joined, I guess it was around 2015.
2014.
2014,
Yep.
and got together then and just had a lot of respect for Heath. And I remember after we had sold that bank, and I was talking to some of the employees, and I said, you know, I'd work for that guy. I have that much confidence in him. And here we are in, 21, and we're just as excited as could be.
That's awesome. And we're talking about numbers and employees. We're going to be, you're going to be 400 plus after this?
Yes.
That's amazing. What kind of culture is Colony building? Because 400 employees, that's a lot to make sure that when a customer walks into any branch, they have the same experience.
Yeah. So culture is critical, and I know Brian believes this as well. And I think, the number one key to any good culture is communication. And so we're really trying hard at Colony, and I know since I've been there, a comment I get from a lot of the team is the communication's really improved. So I think that's the foundation, is communicate, be honest, talk about what's happening in the company, let everybody know, because if you don't provide that communication, people are going to make up their own story and fill that in. And so we don't want that. We generally have very good things to report when we have things that are difficult to talk about. We just have that conversation. And that's really critical, is having good communication, and that's the key to making a culture work. There's so many other pieces, but we try to really be intentional about it. And some of the things we're trying to do right now, key around having fun. We spend too much time at work, most of us more than we should. We're at work more than we do anything else except maybe sleep. And, it's just to have fun. I mean, what we're doing, it is fun. Helping customers, serving people, service is just what we do. It's to be of service to people. And it can be fun, or you can make it not fun. But it takes some work to have fun. And so we're trying to do a lot of things right now in our culture, and, and bringing the SouthCrest folks in with us to really talk about how much fun it is to build something, to grow, and to serve our customers.
I reiterate everything he says. That's one reason that this is going to be an easy execution on this deal, is we have the same culture from the top. And, I've told employees over the years, over and over again, three most important things generally to somebody is their family, their religion, and their money. And they're not always in that order. So if you're going to be dealing with one of them, you better be really good at it. And you need to take care of them because they're watching it. So our employees, I don't think there's going to be any cultural shocks between these two companies. It's very much the same.
What kind of message do you kind of want to talk to your team? And I mean, as a whole, would either one of you want to say about conversions? Like, is there anything that you want to make sure they know?
So, I mean, again, I think communication's so critical. I think on Brian's side and on our side, we have people with a lot of experience that have done a lot of conversions, a lot of these kind of things. And so there's two real pieces to how you pull it together. It's the HR side with the team members, and then it's the operations side with the customers. And so we got to be really on board with how we do both of those things. And I think, you know, we're already starting to have those meetings, starting to get that communication out. I think getting a communication piece out to the customers in the upcoming few days, and then really just making sure everybody on both sides knows exactly what's going to happen when, and then it's just execution. And we've got a playbook we follow, and I'm sure we'll have input from their team on things they've seen work well and not work well in the past. But we're going to have some hiccups as we go through it. Some things are going to happen. Somebody's debit card's not going to work. Somebody's online banking is going to have a problem. And so we know that. It's okay. It's just part of it. You know, as long as you are there for the customer, and then you really get out in front of those problems and communicate well to the customers and to our team members. I mean, that really, to me,
That's what made it so easy for us to get through the signing of a definitive agreement, is the communication between us two. And that was from when we first talked about this, probably 2 years ago, to when it finally got serious. The communication was extremely strong. We are both committed, because it brings uncertainty to all employees. And that's the last thing I want them to do, is go home at night and have uncertainty of what's going to happen. We don't have all the answers day one. We will get them, and we're committed to get answers to employees, our teammates, just as soon as we possibly can.
And the more comfortable that your employees or your team members feel in this transition, in this merger, they're going to communicate that to your customers. And that's their level of security in it will totally communicate to them, and how they interact with the company as a whole will also influence how your customers interact with you. So I totally understand that.
one of the biggest lessons I learned from the ones we did back in, back in 2009 to 2014, one of the first ones, it was a FDIC assisted acquisition, so it was a different, scenario where it changed real fast. But that happened on Friday. On Saturday morning, the bank opened in the drive-through. And I sat in the drive-through area, not where the customers could see me. I just wanted to hear what the interaction was. And every single customer coming through, nobody was worried about anything but the team member. That's all they cared about. Are you okay? Are you going to have a job? They weren't worried about, is my money okay or whatever. They really want to make sure that the people they interact with are going to continue to be the people they interact with.
Well, that comes back what you were talking about, a community bank. That is when you have an investment in a relationship with an officer of the bank. It's not, they're a friend. They're the people that you see at church. They're the people that you are in the carpool line with. So they are more worried about the team members.
It's made it so hard this past year with COVID, because we had to shut down some of our branches to drive-through only. And a lot of those folks just wanted to come in the branch to see the person that they've been dealing with for years. We're back open again. I think everybody just about is, but that made it difficult for a lot of time, because the customer just couldn't come in and see the people that they've trusted and want to deal with.
That's small town banking.
That's
right
small
there.
town banking.
And you gotta love that. Absolutely. Well, Brian, I've heard a lot about you from Heath, and he's telling me that how much trust and faith that he has in you. And talk to me about how your position's going to transition at Colony Bank, and what's that looking like for you?
Well, I'm excited. I'm getting a little bit older. The hair's getting a little bit more gray. And, basically when Heath and I first started talking, he said, "What do you want to do?" And I've gone through a lot of acquisitions, and I'm not sure if I exactly had it put like that before. It's usually, well, this is what you're going to do. And, we talked about it in the surrounding metro Atlanta market, and that is going to be a piece of this. And I'm going to help continue to build that out and get some additional team members on. And then hopefully help Heath on some acquisitions and help get to that $5 billion mark. And I'm excited to do that. I love that side of it. And we've started strategizing on a lot of things, and probably have already been shown a few preliminary deals along the way. So, being the acquirer of choice just excites me. I was involved with a big roll-up back in the 90s, and we bought 12 banks, and that was exciting and that was fun. And helping integrate those and put them together and just bring some of my experience to the table just gets me excited about this deal.
And you're also joining the Colony Bank Board, is that
Yes,
correct?
I'm excited for that. I've got myself, and our chairman at SouthCrest is going to be joining, and we look forward to getting to know everybody on that side.
We talked about the past. let's talk about the future. What does banking look like for Colony in the next 5 years?
So I'm really excited. I mean, like I've said before, technology is so important to what we do, but we're not getting out of the face-to-face service business. I mean, that's what we do. We're going to always do that. But what we're seeing is a change, right? And the COVID situation just sped that up. People still want to deal with their banker. They still want to know they can pick up the phone and call somebody. But it's shifting to more, they want that when they have a more complex transaction or more complex situation. If it's just a check to deposit or need some cash, I can do that with my phone. I can do that with the ATM. And so more and more, the technology is replacing some interaction on transactions, but for the personal interaction for a more complex situation, a mortgage, buying a business, selling a business, anything really complex, they want to come to the bank. And so, we've got to build the technology, but we also critically got to get the right people. And so when we look at where we go and what we're doing, having the right people is going to be the key to our success over the next 5 to 10 years. And this puts us in a spot, and with what's going on in the industry, where I think we can really compete for the talent that's going to be displaced. There's a lot of merger and acquisition activity going on. The really big banks and regional banks are getting much bigger. And, it's my opinion that it's a lot more fun to work in a community bank. It's a lot more fun when you can pick up and talk to people instead of saying, well, we got to call this department or that department. And so that's something that's just the most critical thing. It's the people. So as we look to grow and expand, and where this puts us geographically, we're almost in Alabama, we're almost in Florida, we're almost in Tennessee, we're almost in South Carolina with Augusta and Savannah. There's really no geographic limit where we can't go through acquisition, through hiring the right people. So there's just a lot of positives that we're going to see happen, but it all comes back to getting the right people.
It sounds exciting.
He's a lot more eloquent. I would just say buckle up.
It's going to be a ride.
It's going to be a ride. It's going to be a fun ride. And he's absolutely right. It's about hiring the right people. The displacement that's coming from M&A business is going to provide us with an opportunity to hire a lot of A talent, a lot of high-quality talent. It's difficult sometimes for people who work for large banks to come work for community bank. Community bank is different. And I started a bank. I started a community bank. And, you're washing dishes, making the coffee. You do everything. And a lot of folks come out, they have a hard time transitioning, just like people in the community bank have a hard time transitioning into a large bank. So we're going to have plenty of opportunities. I do truly believe that, of hiring A talent across our footprint, being able to be the acquirer of choice across our footprint. And this one's going to be a lot of fun.
And when you talk about that and the talent we're going to be able to bring in, what that also does for our team that's there today. The growth opportunities you get for our team members in all areas of the bank, when the company's growing, responsibilities are increasing, positions that a $1.8 billion bank doesn't have, a $2.5 billion bank does have. And so you get a combination. It's very much like what we saw at Heritage, where people are able to grow and do way more than they ever thought they could do, than you ever thought they could do. So just the internal opportunities for people, bringing in people from the outside that have other experiences, we all learn from that. So it really just makes it a fantastic place for team members.
And we're talking about, right now, Colony's 29 locations, and we're going to add in 8 from SouthCrest?
8 or 9, yeah.
8 or 9 from SouthCrest. I mean, that puts you in a good footprint across the state, like you mentioned, but it also, did I hear you say that you're going to be the 4th largest bank in the state of Georgia now?
We'll be the 4th largest bank total that's headquartered in Georgia, and we'll be the largest community bank headquartered in Georgia.
I know you're a big Georgia football fan, and you've turned both of your kids into football fans, but tell people a little bit about yourself and how you ended up at the CEO position at Colony Bank.
Okay, yeah. So I am a big Georgia fan, which is great. We have a lot of almost got there moments in Georgia football history. So I get to help my son experience those highs and lows. We were at the Georgia-Alabama game this last year, and we were excited because we were leading and we were crying before the end of the game. I held it together. He didn't. I waited till I got back to the hotel to cry when he wasn't there. But no, I have just a wonderful family, beautiful wife Stephanie, and 2 kids, Watley, who is 10, and Nobi, who's 7. I'm just so proud of them and grateful to be a father. Just enjoy spending time with them. We have a little, I call it the farm, but a little place outside of Dawson where we like to go and hop on the tractor, get in the woods and do stuff, and it's good bonding time for me with my kids. Actually, the drive over there is like 25 minutes, and I make them not get on their devices, and we turn off the radio and we talk, and which is great. And that was a place I used to go with my granddad, and we did the same thing, talked. And so that's been really great. So just blessed in my personal life. You know, my professional life has just been phenomenal. I think just the opportunities I've had, a lot of luck and timing, and probably some hard work along the way. I value hard work a lot. But, you know, the opportunity to come to Colony was just a perfect opportunity for me. When Heritage sold in 2015, and I was the CFO, and let's see, I was 39 maybe when we sold, and I kind of felt like, you know, I'd reached the pinnacle of my career, wasn't going to get to be a part of a large growing organization again. Went and spent 3 years at a great family-owned community bank that I loved that experience and opportunity, and then this came along at Colony and allowed me to stay in South Georgia, which is important to my family and to me. But go somewhere where we could grow and make an impact all across the state and really across the Southeast, and I'm just very blessed.
Brian, tell me a little bit about yourself and your history and your family.
I grew up down in Central Florida. Went to school up at the Harvard of the South, Troy University in Troy, Alabama. And came to Atlanta 38 years ago next month, and got in the banking business, and it's been my career ever since. And I've enjoyed it. I have 2 girls, 27 and 22, and they're a little older than Heath, but the times, we have a little place out at Lake Oconee, and the times spent out there with them with no devices is the best times history and memories that I have.
Conversions are coming up. We're talking about fourth quarter, third quarter. We still have some things we have to clear up in terms of transactions of this size have to go through shareholders and FDIC approval. So tell me what the next few months are going to look like.
So we do have to get our shareholder approvals. We're already filed our applications with the regulators. So there'll be a lot of work and preparation on the back end for the conversion. I know the teams have already started meeting up, talking about all that. We've targeted a date, November the 8th is our target date for the conversion, which is great for us to be able to go ahead and get that done this year and not push that out too terribly far. And then there's going to be a lot of meeting, a lot of going around and talking, trying to figure out, you know, how the combined team is going to look. Obviously, in the branches, it's going to be real easy. It's going to look very similar to what it does today. But in terms of our centralized areas, our operations areas, those type of things, you know, we're having meetings. They've already started, you know, talking to the teams. What does the combined company look like, and how do we want to structure that? So there's going to be a lot of time spent on that, and that's where the patience comes in, and the you know, we're going to communicate as soon as we can all those decisions and get all that input. And then the other thing that's going to happen with all that is it's going to change. We're going to put down, this is what we think, and this is how we want to lay things out. And then other things are going to happen. People are going to have opportunities outside of this company. And, you know, we wish them well, and that's okay. And so things are going to shift around. So the biggest thing I can tell to our team members is just be patient. we're going to have holes open up, new positions added, and we're going to do everything we can on the Colony side to make sure, we're not out hiring somebody from the outside when a SouthCrest team member can fill that role. And so we're just going to be working really hard on trying to make all that fit together over the next several months.
It's a big puzzle that you're putting together.
It is a big puzzle, and I must say, Heath and his team, they've already been on top of it. It's been a whole week, and we've had people in Atlanta, got more coming. The communication lines are open among all the departments. And, I'll finish up and tell you that I went through a large acquisitions back in 2000, and by a very professional acquirer, and they gave us all that little parable, who moved my cheese? And at 38 years old, I probably didn't take it serious. I look at it now, 20 years later, and it's just got a lot of merit to it, and you need to read it. And it's just not about mergers and acquisitions. It's today's life. All of our cheese has been moved this last year with COVID, and our lives have changed, and we all just need to be cognizant, inside and outside of businesses, that things are going to change. And I know that, your teammates as well as mine realize that, and like he said, the box is going to be filled in with pencil, because it is going to change, and we're excited about it.
We're not carving anything into stone on this. And I think the other thing for people to remember, and somebody explained it to me like this one time, and it just really stuck, is that, think about some of the greatest things that happened in your life. They all preceded or were part of a big change. Getting married, having a kid, going to college. These are all big changes, and they were great experiences in your life. And I think going through something like this, it's a very similar thing. You're nervous, you haven't done something like this before, you haven't been through it, but it's fantastic opportunity. There's great things that are going to come from this. And so, but it is just somewhat of a ride. You said buckle up earlier, and it's somewhat of, there's some uncertainty as we go through it, but hang in there and be patient. And, I think things are going to come out probably better than most people think.
Bumps in the road make the ride a little bit more fun.
That they do, and I think that's the perfect way to end it up for today, is buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride, but it's going to be a fun ride that you're definitely doing together, and you can see that, the excitement between the two of you and the faith that you have in each other, and I know that's transmitted to your team members as well. So good luck.
Absolutely.
I wish you the very best.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you so much.